hello, and welcome to your favorite bad movie podcast. The only podcast that's brave enough to ask the question, if this movie's so bad, why do you like it so much? We're your hosts. My name is Chris Anderson. With me, as always, I have my wonderful wife, Anna Anderson.
Hello!
And I have my fantastic friend, Greg Bossy.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest. You might know her as a child educator. You might know her as a sports commentator. But I know her as the one for whom there is none greater. Shelly Shaker, it's Shelly Walston.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hey.
Welcome aboard.
Woo.
Hello.
Thank you for coming this week, Shelly. It's great to have you. And you chose this week's movie. And after a little waffling, a little bit of hemming and hawing, you eventually honed in on what you felt was the right answer, The Woman in Red.
I just want you to know it was more than a little hemming and hawing. It was lists, and I think maybe we exchanged approximately 31 text message chains where I inquired whether this was good or too good or maybe bad. I'm not sure. But yeah, I knew the vein I wanted to go with.
But you really wanted to make sure that you understood the assignment, I feel like.
I mean, maybe it's the child educator in me.
Sure.
It's true. So, for any listeners at home who are not familiar with the movie The Woman in Red, let me give you just our brief, short summary of the picture to hold in your mind. So you got Teddy, played by Gene Wilder, and he's a happily married man who spies the stunningly beautiful Charlotte, played by Kelly LeBrock.
Mm-hmm.
He instantly becomes obsessed with the idea of having an affair with her. Fair enough?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Nutshell.
So, Shelly, I had never heard of this movie before. Tell me about your history with The Woman in Red and why you think it's your favorite bad movie.
Okay, so I actually, when I was going through the best bad movies that I just love so much, I really wanted to tag on to the nostalgia I had with older movies, specifically the nostalgia I had with older movies and my grandmother on my mom's side. Yes, Phyllis is her name.
Okay.
Or PJ.
PJ, I like that.
Yeah, she was pretty great. And she had the most inappropriate humor of all time. I mean, and full on cackling, just screaming loud cackling. She loves body humor. She loves inappropriate jokes. She loves close up tight shots of boobs. She was hilarious to be with. And I watched so many inappropriate movies with her in the basement of their home, of my grandparents' home, while helping wrap Christmas presents. She would pay me $20 to help her wrap Christmas presents for my 31 cousins.
It sounds like you're both making out as winners in that deal.
Oh my God, yes. So I actually chose the least misogynist
Wow.
of the movies that I watched with Grandma. And while doing a little research on the movie, I actually came to find out that the other two that were really big contenders for my pick also came out in 1984.
Wow, big year for films.
Big year for Phyllis. Yeah. And I would like to point out that all of these movies that we watched in Grandma's basement were on VHS that she had recorded from HBO or Skinemax, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, was this the house that you and Mallory used to live in that had that great wallpaper, that basement? I love that basement. What a fantastic wood-paneled basement to watch this movie in.
And, I think maybe that's what is part of this nostalgia for me, is that this movie just takes me 100% back to that wood paneled basement with the console area where that giant tube TV sat in, surrounded by either board games or those home movies that were just taped from HBO. And yeah, just like that basement room is like a really important part of my childhood, I think.
And I feel like listeners at home, though they cannot see this basement, I bet in their minds they can smell it. That basement smell. And that sounds like a fantastic memory.
Yeah.
And you chose this one because it was the least misogynist.
Yeah, I'm curious about what some of the other ones were.
Okay, so the other two that were possibilities from 1984 include Up the Creek and Revenge of the Nerds, which has lacking consent, which has just so much doesn't hold up at all ever, even then.
It would have been interesting to watch in relationship to last week's movie, Ghoulies Go to College. They would have been really interesting to compare and contrast the two.
I could see that.
Now, Greg, had you ever seen this one before?
So I had an interesting experience as far as... So we're watching Woman in Red. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I Google it, and I see the poster, and it was like... when you smell something that reminds you of something, but you can't remember what it is, but it reminds you of it really hard. You're like, I was like, I know that I remember this for a reason. I don't remember why. It may have just been that I was a boy and it's Kelly LeBrock and a sexual thing. You know what I mean? I think maybe my family rented it. But I don't think, because in my head I was like, I think maybe I've seen this.
They would like that cover, your family.
So this is the thing. This is the weird thing about my family. Sometimes some of these things would squeak through somehow.
Okay.
I think it was like my dad just being like, I just kind of want like a sexual thing and kind of being able to get away with it. But I don't think we really watched them, but we might have seen bits of them.
And this would probably be like as risque as it would.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a hot night on the town.
Exactly. This is the top of the pyramid. Like, this is the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? Like, we are at the pinnacle.
This is pure eroticism.
Exactly. So I thought maybe I had seen it, and after about 10 minutes, I was like, I've definitely never seen this movie. But I remember it very specifically after seeing the poster. Like, it just, like, lit up a portion of my brain.
The poster is very memorable.
Oh, yeah.
So memorable. That red satin dress. Oh, shut up. Those red satin panties.
Oh. Anna, had you seen this one?
No, I hadn't heard of it either.
No, me neither. I was genuinely surprised. I had heard of some of Wilder's other directorial efforts. Gene Wilder also directed this one, listeners.
He wrote it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like we're getting into context. I might as well just play the old context bumper. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
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 I wish I had some context about the background of the film. Script director, actors on set. What was going on screen? I wanna hear some details. Gossip, scandal, all that shit. Can't imagine I'll get tired of
it. So The Woman in Red came out in June, 1984. I don't know why I was about to assume June, but I was.
I like it.
It was written and directed and starring Gene Wilder. It was a remake of a 1976 French film, which is either called Pardon mon affaire or Un éléphant ça trompe énormément, which is a play on words, trompe meaning both an elephant's trunk and an affair.
Ooh.
Ah.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
need both to have an affair, apparently.
yes, but but it was also apparently known as Pardon Mon Affaire, and I'm not quite sure how that worked out. It had a budget of about $9 million and a box office of $25.3 million.
Holy
So,
cow.
a success. A
Yeah.
solid success for Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder was already a comedy icon at this point in his career, having already starred in classics like The Producers, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and Stir Crazy. And The Producers also garnered him an Academy Award nomination, and I believe he won the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, and he actually won Best Supporting Actor for The Producers.
Oh,
Leo
okay. I thought it
Bloom.
was just nominated.
No, he won it.
Oh, well, God bless.
Hey everybody, Chris here. Just wanted to issue a quick correction. Shelly and I are both wrong. Gene Wilder was only nominated for both Young Frankenstein and The Producers. But ultimately, isn't that what's really wrong? Anyway, enjoy the rest of the show.
So, a fantastic comedic actor, an icon. I think I know I love Gene Wilder. I never met anyone who doesn't have a soft spot for Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the curly hair.
Yeah.
And just these sort of soft eyes. He looks like a drawing of someone in love. He has the face of someone who's falling in love.
The real
Yes.
Chris Anderson type.
Oh, I thank you. And I will say, I'm just going to get in front of it right now. This movie does talk a lot about extramarital affairs. And as the only, and specifically from a married man point of view, and as the only married man on the panel today, I'm going to try and be frank and be honest, but I don't want to be like, I really identified with Gene Wilder's character, the way he wanted to fuck other women, you know? But I did identify with Gene Wilder's character and the way he wanted to fuck other women. Like,
I mean, it happens, even to the best of us.
I think for me, like the crux of this movie is it's about sort of the idea of like, you know, anyone who's been in a long-term relationship has had the experience of like walking through like a Target or something and seeing someone attractive and having a moment where they're so attractive that you're like, whoa, and you stop for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is like, if you didn't stop for a second, if you just live the rest of your life in that whoa, and now that's a bad idea.
But here's the deal. Like and we'll probably get onto this later on, but like the fact that he says he'd never been drawn to anyone before this one moment in the garage where the woman in red dances over the grate in her very Marilyn Monroe kind of sexy way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you get the impression that, nope, this guy is a real family man who would never do this. Never.
Right.
Yeah. And this is the story. If it just one day, what if he did? Now, Wilder, his directorial efforts were never as celebrated as his acting work. But he also, at this point, had directed The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother and The World's Greatest Lover. He was born in Milwaukee in 1933. He died in my hometown of Stamford, Connecticut in 2016.
That's
R.I.P.
interesting.
Definitely. He got his BA from the University of Iowa before studying briefly at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, where he was a championship fencer.
Okay.
Oh, neat.
He
took a moment. That's interesting.
I would never have guessed that about him.
No, he apparently later in his life he would make ends meet occasionally by teaching fencing lessons.
Huh.
And I really wanted to watch The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother because he would have to do some fencing in that. They would have to come up, and I'd be really interested to see how he did it.
I saw a couple clips of that of the Sherlock Holmes, and he is just the most adorable doofus in it. Like he plays like a real Chaplin kind of character or like a Lucille Ball character, like shoving chocolates in his mouth to like make sure that nobody else sees that he mishandled the chocolates kind of way. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But fencing?
I will say that I believe that my father said that was one of the worst movies he'd ever seen. Possibly the worst.
Interesting.
He did
Okay.
not have good things to say about the adventures of Sherlock Holmes' smarter brother.
But your father's also, and shout out to our OG listener, Chris Perlberg. Your father is also the kind of guy who dislikes a movie if it has the wrong type of planes in it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that just takes a degree of attention at that point. I would be upset too.
That's fair. I'm still curious, but I didn't see it streaming anywhere. Maybe I'll try and illegally download it.
Don't you dare.
Now,
You wouldn't do that.
No, I wouldn't download a car. He was drafted in 1956, and he served as a paramedic in the Department of Psychiatry and Neurology at the Valley Forge Army Hospital. An experience that would almost doubtlessly help him out in his later role as Billy Bibb in the initial Broadway production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Huh.
Okay.
What an interesting man and interesting life. What an interesting podcast.
He did love doing, he said, so I watched his documentary, the one that's on whatever streaming service, and he did say that he loved learning about people, and he thinks that came from his time in the military, working at that hospital. Later on, when he goes to do See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Richard Pryor, he actually went to School of the Deaf and School for the Blind and got really deep into the education that goes into those two different schools and used it to help him do that work for that movie. And then his last wife was actually the teacher from the School of the Deaf.
Yeah. Well, and you can tell, like, in his performances that he's not just a skilled comedian, but also an actor who is putting in work. Like, he's not one of those guys that just sort of naturally does his thing and relies on that to be the core of his performance. He's also an actor. So he also appeared in a production of Mother Courage and Her Children with Anne Bancroft, who introduced her to her then boyfriend and eventual husband, Mel Brooks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This led to Wilder being cast in The Producers, which garnered him the Best Supporting, and from there he was sort of off to the races. Now, The Woman in Red also marks the film debut of supermodel Kelly LeBrock as the titular woman in red. And LeBrock came into the national consciousness in this time, in the early 80s. She was the face of the Pantene shampoo commercial with her famous line, "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful."
Okay, that's where
That's
came
such a
from.
good line.
It is a really good line.
very
I
good.
hope
Yeah.
whoever at the company came up with that got a little pat on the back.
And like, you know, coming from like, could you imagine just being like a 1980s housewife? Can you imagine being Phyllis Leach in your basement, mother of 5, like, you know, hair up in rollers, mending kids' pants, and then just seeing Kelly LeBrock on the screen saying, "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful." Ugh. Well, I mean,
I do what I want.
right? Like, yeah. I could just hear grandma saying like, "Well, you haven't squeezed 5 kids out of me." You know, like I could just, just hear it.
She was also stunt cast, more or less, in the movie Weird Science as Lisa, the woman brought to life by computers. So once again cast as this sort of ideal, this sort of men's fantasy made physical. And then in 1990, she co-starred in Hard to Kill opposite her then husband Steven Seagal.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
so if you hated her because she was beautiful,
It's true. She does have 3 children with Steven Seagal, which I don't envy anyone.
no.
Yeah.
The poster for Women in Red, which we were talking about earlier, features
Yeah.
LeBrock getting her red dress blown up, a reference to the same thing happening to Marilyn Monroe in The 7-Year Itch, though this is not the oldest known example of this trope.
This is exciting.
Oh.
The first hot, great upskirt movie was filmed in 1901 and was titled What Happened on 23rd Street, New York City, where actress Florence Georgie strolls over a grate and her blows her skirt hem halfway up her shins before she strolls on giggling. You can see it on Wikipedia. We'll post a link on some of our socials.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really charming.
Great.
Yeah, and you can see why this is an image that has held imagination, because it is that sort of like, I've heard people condemn this as a form of like voyeurism, but this is truly the most harmless form of voyeurism one could have. You know what I mean? Like that this might be considered a violation of consent to not look away or something, or rude. But
Well, yeah, no, I would say, as having experienced it, like it is a little fun. It does make you giggle.
It's like being on a
'Cause it's
roller
like,
coaster or something, and it's unexpected. Well, I guess roller coasters aren't unexpected, but it's just this kind of like, woo, and it's a little bit scandalous, but not so scandalous.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like being on the kiss cam at the ball game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey.
No, that's
flirty.
too obligatory. That's too obligatory.
Too much social pressure.
Yeah,
Okay.
too much social pressure. I want to walk over a grate and get surprised with the wind blowing up my skirt.
Okay.
That's
fair
what
enough.
I want, the surprise.
All right.
Yeah, so there's that.
Then I'm not planning anything.
Just make sure that you tell me so I can wear a skirt that day, because I don't wear skirts.
Yeah, it'll be tough to figure out what to do for the overalls, but I'll figure it out.
There you
There's going to
go.
be magnets.
Filming that scene helped end Marilyn Monroe's marriage to Joe DiMaggio. He was incandescently angry about it.
Wow.
He was an angry man.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
That
seems
makes
in
sense.
keeping with his character.
Yeah.
Just to put a thing in its place, other comedies of 1984, you've got the original Police Academy.
Oh,
Okay.
It could also fit perfectly well into that frat movie theme. You've got 16 Candles.
yep.
Top Secret, starring a young Val Kilmer.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's a great one.
Oh God, You Devil, starring an old George Burns.
I've seen that one. That's one I saw
love
with my
that movie.
grandmother.
Classic.
That has
So
the
good.
exact same basement vibes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to something like Beverly Hills Cop, which is much more living room.
Mhm.
All of Me, I'm going to say back down in the basement. Ghostbusters, living room. Muppets Take Manhattan, obviously living room.
Hey. Yeah.
So, with that,
And can I also point out, this is
Please.
also the year that Purple Rain came out.
Oh, wow.
So shut your mouth. That's amazing. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out this year.
okay.
And another movie that was on my hot list for favorite bad films, Rhinestone, starring Dolly
Okay.
Parton and Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, I
So-
don't know if I've heard of that.
Greg,
I'm going to write it. I'm going to
will you
write
guys
it down.
please invite me back on so we can talk about that movie?
Please.
We can absolutely invite you back on to talk about Rhinestone.
Oh my God. I can't stop hearing the songs from it now.
And
I'm
it's interesting hearing those titles to say that this was our ultimate winner for an Academy Award for Best Original Song.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Did you look at the songs up that year?
I did, yeah. I have a whole little spiel on the soundtrack later, yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
God.
listeners, stick around for that. But
Oh,
just
this
interesting
is-
to hear those other titles and hear that competition. Let's get into the plot, you guys.
Yes.
I'm transitioning by playing the plot bumper.
Plot bumper, listen to me. I'm gonna give you the plot summary. Come on, baby, here's the synopsis. Plot bumper, plot bumper.
We open on the city of San Francisco. Practically another character in the film.
I mean,
You're actually not wrong.
No, I think this is a film where you could make a solid argument for that being the case, for sure.
I'd also
For
like
sure,
to
for
point out
sure.
that in the credits is someone named Jack Frost Sanders.
Yes.
I feel that that's important to make note of. Just we can
Also, another great name from the credits, Joseph Bologna, a.k.a. Joey Baloney.
Joey Baloney.
yes.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
We zoom in on Teddy Pierce, played by Gene Wilder, and he's standing on the ledge of an apartment building, giving the old "you're probably wondering how I got here" narration.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a bathrobe, so it seems like, boy, this guy's in a bit of a pickle. He's not out there working on those windows, I'll tell you that. It would be funny. I bet you're wondering how it got here. It all started when I applied for a job as a window washer.
Mm-hmm.
But because of some weird kink, you know what? Let me take that back. Because of some kink, I wear oversized slippers and a velvet robe.
He looks great. He tells us it all started when he was pulling into work a little while ago, and he saw a beautiful woman in a red dress. She steps up onto an air grate, and it blows up her skirt, revealing matching red silk panties. And he is instantly gobsmacked, as are we in the audience.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You know what? I have two things I want to point out here. First of all, this movie's a frame story, and they just don't make enough movies that are frame stories anymore. I love a movie that starts at its end and then gets you there. Like, you just can't beat it.
You should check out Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
You actually shouldn't do that.
No, it's not that great.
I've got
That's
2.5 hours. It's fine.
Yeah.
But so I love that. I love that it starts with a frame story. And then secondly, what I love about this great situation is that Kelly LeBrock is like going through her matching red purse. Like, and it's a little clutch. And she's like scrambling some papers or whatever in that little red clutch. And she steps over the grate.
Like this at like 9 a.m.
Yeah, like super early, and goes over the grate. It blows up her skirt. She walks off. Then she stuffs those papers back in her purse and walks back to the grate, where she does possibly one of the best, what I'm assuming is improvised dances in all of cinematographic history. That little tush twirl,
Little dance.
that little tush twirl that she does.
Yeah, just shaking that thing just a little bit, just enough.
Mm-hmm.
She's not like doing the tic tac. She's not out there twerking.
She's not twerking at all. It's just a little tush. Just a little, just a little tush.
Just a little, just so you see it.
It is believable as the kind of sexy dance you do when you're alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, in a
not-
parking garage.
Yeah, not when we're showing off for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love
an
that it's
attitude.
got the music too in it. I know, Anna, you said you've got the soundtrack notes, but like the fact that it's like, the woman in red,
Oh yeah.
the woman in red, like just, yes, please.
Yeah, it's not subtle at all. It's saying this woman is our MacGuffin. This is what the movie is about. And this is why. it's because she's this hot. Even the sound, even Stevie Wonder can't even see, and he's like, damn, that lady's hot.
Yes.
So it turns out she's going up to a meeting with somebody else in his very office. And that someone else is Ms. Milner, played by the incomparable Gilda Radner, who steals every single scene she is in.
She sure
Yeah.
does.
Amen.
She doesn't say a lot either. She's still
No.
stealing those scenes with just the acting.
Just those
just
eyes.
Yeah.
Like just the taking the sunglasses off. Or just her nonchalance about anything. Or her complete fluster. Either one.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, yeah, she steals the show. At this point, she and Wilder were not yet married. They got married after this film.
Mm-hmm.
But you could see like how much he was probably like into her by how much he gave this character that could have been much less. He spent a lot of, she's like, God, she's great. We should put more of Gilda in there, you know? And he was right. She crushes in this. He calls Miss Milner's extension for some reason, assuming the woman in red will answer.
Hoping, looking through a hole in a newspaper that disguises nothing also.
Through clear plate glass windows. I mean, like, just obvious as obvious can get.
But I feel like at this point, like everything up to this point before he calls is all very relatable Gene Wilder to me. To just be like, I know that if someone saw me right now, I would look crazy. And I need to stop doing this, but I can't. And, you know, but then he picks up the phone, and that's when he like falls into his own fantasy. That's when he's Alice going down the rabbit hole.
Can we also just take a moment to talk about like what like a goofball of a guy he is? I mean, number one, he has like the most milquetoast outfit. It's like a baby blue sweater vest with a, you know, collared shirt and a tie and like a corduroy jacket. And his office is kind of, you know, a little bit of a mess. And it has a bedroom lamp on the desk in the back. Like I was watching this with my wife and I was like, the hell is that lamp doing there? Like his wife come in and say like, oh honey, this is what you need. And then above his desk, and this is so 1980s, above his desk is a teddy. It's a framed picture of a teddy bear wearing like a sweatband in like a white sweater vest and shorts with a tennis racket.
Yeah.
What adult man?
Well, you gotta remember, he is Teddy and he likes tennis.
But he's like supposed to be this like business deal making, marketing, information specialist.
I thought it was like an accountant.
His job is very vague. Yeah.
No, it says on his door. Like it's like information specialist.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, I think he like runs the numbers for an ad firm.
Okay.
I think, but that ad firm might be contractually working for the city because the only ad campaign they're doing for is for the cable cars.
She's up and running.
Yeah, she is up and running.
Yeah.
So anyway, he calls Miss Milner's extension, and Miss Milner picks up, and he sets up a dinner date for them that night, thinking that he's going to be going out with the woman in red. And Miss Milner is very flustered.
Someone has blocked the view from him right at that moment.
Yeah.
Yes. See, for one instant, he cannot see into this office, and that's when Miss Milner picks up. As opposed, I wonder if he had seen, he would have been like, "Can you please put on the woman in the red dress?"
No, he would have gotten so flustered, which is his MO. Like, I was just calling because like, no excuse ready at the ready.
But he's very smooth when he calls on the line. The way that he asks her is very confident, and you can tell that that's part of how he's like entered this sort of fantasy realm. And he's also like, or Gilda at this point, her flustered acting in this is so good.
is incredible.
So
she
good.
lights the filter on her cigarette, and which
Oh,
my
yeah.
dad did once in a live production of The Glass Menagerie. And and then she starts accidentally speaking in German. It's just a really great bit. She's so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
And I also love that he's like, blah, 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 this place at 9. And she says, 9 doesn't work for me. How about 9:10? like 10 minutes is really like the cutoff zone.
It's like she is going to get there as soon as she possibly. It's like her other thing ended at 9. She's not going to say 9:30, 9:10.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and I also wondered if it was like, like some kind of mother's rule that like her character had been passed down, like you never accept the date under his terms kind of thing.
Oh, yeah,
It seems like it could have been that weird vibe, like, 9 doesn't work for me, but 9:02 might, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to get. There's
Okay, I'm sorry.
strangely a lot of plot in this movie,
There's a
considering
whole-
that it
it's
only
thick
lasts
with plot.
88 minutes. Every scene is filled with. It's more like a series of vignettes, and so like every scene has sort of equal importance, and so you have to describe it all. Anyway, he then has his wife drive him over to the country club where he has a standing game of doubles with his boys, Buddy, Joey, and Mikey. I love the boys. Great characters.
They are great.
I love Grodin.
Are they?
Oh, they're so great because they're all just asshole turds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Asshole
Okay,
turds
yeah.
is a good way to describe them.
Asshole turds.
Yeah. They are all in some way or another involved in some form of affair. They really have a problem with fidelity, and they all sort of support each other in cheating. They're like a cheaters club. It's
Except for Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Well, Gene
Well,
Wilder,
he supports, but he doesn't participate.
No, he's looking to get on board. He wants to get on that cheat train.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very French coded.
Yes,
Yeah.
This is where you can tell this is an adaptation of a French film where everybody has affairs. Joey is bragging about his affairs, so Teddy asks him for some details, trying to figure out some tips, but trying to act like he isn't. Turns out Joey might not be the best one to go to for advice, though, because his wife found out and left with the kids and all the furniture. And Joey instantly starts freaking out and wrecks their house in a scene that was surprisingly frightening.
Oh, yeah.
Joey is terrifying.
Oh,
Joey
yeah,
is absolutely going to kill his wife someday.
Well, and also just the fact that, okay, so number one, I don't know what job he has, but it's a good enough job that he can take hours off during the working day to go play tennis with his asshole turd friends and then drive over to his house with those friends and rip his kitchen to shreds. He takes, how many cabinet doors come off?
Yeah. He really goes gonzo on it.
And then he destroys the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he looks them dead in the eyes and says, "This isn't happening."
Yeah. In a way that's very frightening and intense.
Oh,
It was a very weird tonal shift in the movie that came kind of out of nowhere.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to sympathize with him or something at this point, because it's just like you cheated on your wife and she found out, so she left you. That's all I know about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Teddy at this point is undeterred. And he works out an elaborate scheme to get out of the house based on taking his children to the movies, an annoying book club that his wife has at their house, and getting called into work by Mikey, posing as his assistant Richard.
Can we pause a moment and talk about the fact that Gene Wilder's daughter is dating this punk rock dude named Shelly?
Shelly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Shelly just got tickets to see David Bowie.
Yes.
And Gene Wilder's character mispronounces it as David Bowie, which I think is just peak dad joke era. But I was looking it up. That would have been for the Serious Moonlight tour that hit San Francisco in '84 for Let's Dance. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a show that would be.
That would have been
my
amazing.
God.
Shelley was onto something.
Yeah. Shelley was a strange character.
He was a strange
Very
character.
strange.
But I
Very
liked
strange.
the bit of Gene Wilder asking him if he was Jewish.
Yeah.
You're Jewish,
It's,
right?
You know, a guy with a mohawk and everything.
My mother and my father are Jewish.
Yeah. So deadpan too. Just like, ugh.
Yeah. And his like echolalia that he had, he was a very strange character. When he was later on was feeling up the mom, but we'll get to that.
That was very strange.
I have to talk about that scene, but yes.
Now, while he's talking to his wife, Dee Dee, who's great.
Total babe.
But Teddy learns that she's got a real jealous streak.
And a gun.
And she has a gun. And she knew that Joey was having an affair because he would always get called into work late at night.
Oh, you mean that old trick still works?
Oh, yeah.
Not anymore. At that point, Mikey calls to try and call Teddy into work. And Dee Dee sits next to him on the bed, still holding the gun and resting it gently on his thigh, pointing directly at his cock and balls. I thought was the best gag of the movie, if I'm being honest. That was really fucking
It's
fun.
pretty solid.
She really sells it.
Yeah.
Made me slightly anxious, even.
And you know what? Here's the deal. I love that Gene Wilder goes into their bedroom and has a total, like, full-on toddler tantrum meltdown. Like, a pillow over his face, freaking out, like, slamming his legs over the bed. And she just, like, gets on the bed and goes up to him and says, "Honey, do you just need a Campari and soda?" And he's like, Yeah, I do. Like, it was the best. Do you just need
what a
Campari?
great wife.
I know.
I also
Why would
don't
you
want to
step
drag.
out?
I don't want to drag this out, but they've already done the one of them pretends to be blind and destroy everything in a bar, right?
No, not yet.
Yes. At some point in the next, I didn't put it down in my notes. I left out some of the boys' plot lines.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it happened. I'm pretty sure it happened before this because I remember like they left and then it like for some reason like he's in the phone booth. He's like, I don't know why he just yelled at me and hangs it up. And then there's like a big fight out by the car for some reason.
Yeah,
And
they
you're
boys
just
have
like,
gotten
what
into a
is
fist
what is
fight on
going
their wild
on?
night out. The boys like to wild out.
They
Yeah,
sure
the boys,
do.
they played a prank where Charles Grodin pretended to be blind and smashed up a restaurant to cheer up Joey because his wife left him. And then they got into a fist fight with a bunch of randos out on the street.
That's how you know they're good friends. That's how you know.
And literal menaces to their hometown of San Francisco. Now, unfortunately, caught in the crossfire of all these shenanigans is poor Ms. Milner. Teddy ends up not going to the restaurant. He stays home because he literally has a gun pressed to his cock. And so Ms. Milner is left alone, stood up in the bar. She looks so sad. She was so excited. The next day, much to his confusion, she keys his car and mangles his area.
What a great scene.
Very good.
Yeah.
I love that it mirrors the opening of the film too, because she's walking into the shadow with the same almost silhouette in the parking garage that the woman in red has, and so Teddy like perks up, like, could it happen again? Yeah. Does lightning strike twice? And then it's Mrs. Then it's
she's
Ms.
coming
Milner.
back for more. She's a perv.
I mean, she is wearing red, but it's this long red pea coat, gorgeous pea coat.
Yes.
Well, let's see. It's not all bad news, though, because at a meeting that day, Teddy finds out that the woman in red is the face of their new cable car campaign. She's up and running. He's unable to get her contact info or name, even though a guy says, ask our boss. He knows her name, which is a weird specific line of dialogue to include for him to not do. But he does learn that she likes to go horseback riding in some park, some sort of San Francisco park where you can check
Golden
out
Gate Park.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Never been. Back at the office, he gets a phone call from Miss Milner, who he thinks is the woman in red, because she's like, I didn't see you last night. And he's like, oh, it's the woman in red, even though no English accent this time.
No.
But he says they make an arrangement to meet at Le Club at 5 o'clock. But when he gets to Le Club and sees Ms. Milner there, this time wearing like a denim jumpsuit that's cinched at the waist with a big poofy side pony.
That side pony.
It's very
that
good.
side pony. So good.
I feel like this was her worst look. I'm going to be honest. I don't think she was pulling it
I
off.
love the jumpsuit.
I'm going to go with Anna. Chris, you are so wrong.
I think if the jumpsuit was a different color, it would work. This, to me, it was reading like maybe too ski bunny to me.
But it was, did you notice though? She had like a fur shawl with it. The white fur, like shawl jacket bolero situation. And also the pockets on it were way too large. So they were kind of saggy, but like right over her boobs. Oh, it was so great.
It was very dramatic look.
Great. So
very
great.
striking.
Maybe I misread the vibe.
To each their own, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, he sees her there in this very controversial outfit and instantly bolts, being like, oh, I can't have her see me meeting the woman in red. So he runs out. She follows him. He fakes a heart attack in his car to get out. And it goes on he extends it really well. It does.
For a long time.
Yeah.
It's almost orgasmic. That is the heart attack that sounds like an orgasm. Like a fake orgasm.
Ms. Milner, unimpressed, releases the emergency brake on his car and goes neutral, causing him to roll down the street and possibly killing several people off screen.
Tough to say.
Not all bad news for Teddy, though. Persistence finally pays off on the horse riding trail, where he finally tracks down the woman in red, this time wearing a riding outfit and a bowler hat.
With a snood.
A snood.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
A snood.
Not familiar with the term.
Oh, a snood is one of just those little fabric things that like women will put over a bun to help keep their bun in
It's
place.
a fancy hairnet.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it's an attractive hairnet. Yes.
He chases her down awkwardly. He has a great running bit of being very awkward on a horse, and then he tells people that he used to give lessons for spare change. Kind of like what he used to do with fencing, except he was actually good at that. Anyway, they chat briefly. We learn her name is Charlotte, but he's unable to land a date at this junction. He does, however, drop an earring from his coat pocket. His wife gave him her earrings earlier. Don't worry, it's all justified.
It all makes sense.
I'm sorry, I should have wrote down the earrings earlier, but I'm really trying to keep it moving. Then Charlotte notices the earring and brings it to him at his office. He sees her outside.
It's a pouring rain, right?
Yeah, it's in the pouring rain. It's very sweet that he's standing there in the room in the rain, but he has this big smile on his face. He's clearly just over the moon to be talking to this beautiful woman. And he asks her out, and at first she turns him down, but he's just so like cute, and he seems so like sweet. And he also lays down on the hood of her car.
I'm sorry, he doesn't lay down on the hood. He like throws himself on the hood, and there's that terrible like squeaking of him like sliding off the hood for a little while, and then clambering back up. And then she does this like little come hither finger curl towards him. She's like, all right, you wore me down.
So, but she does say that he needs, his suit is really old. And he's like, oh, maybe it's time for me to freshen up my look. So we get a little makeover montage.
Great sequence.
Yeah, they dress him like an asshole, and they like straighten his hair. So it looks more like mine. It's a little less frizzy.
And We have to point out here that Charles Grodin is the one who takes him suit shopping. It's not Joey Baloney. It's not little Mikey. It's Charles Grodin. And, Charles Grodin's like, you want to look good? I know how to make a man look good. That's important later on.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, the only justification for that is Buddy does appear to be the best dressed of the four.
For sure.
Let's see. He shows up for dinner. But only to get a phone call from Charlotte saying that she's down in L.A. She had an emergency modeling situation.
They happen.
It's true. She invites him to come join her for the evening. Teddy immediately starts setting up another elaborate lie to sneak away from his poor wife, Dee Dee. It involves telegrams, bubble baths, and more temper tantrums, but it works. And soon he's flying from San Francisco to LA. And he does another great temper tantrum sequence here. It seems like he realized this trick plays with his wife.
He's isn't splashing in the bath.
It's just
really
saying,
good.
no!
With the sponge.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great stuff. Soon he's flying down to Los Angeles, but unfortunately LAX is closed due to fog. So they are diverted to San Diego, and Teddy needs to spend the night in an airport. Still, we get a little narration, and he thinks to himself, I'm having an adventure. And I think that is such an important line for what's going on with Teddy's experience in this movie.
Yeah.
Is part of it is just the thrill of going and doing something,
Mhm. Shaking up the old rhythms.
Yeah.
Well, but he's also thinking to himself that, wow, he has, Dee Dee waiting for him here and Charlotte waiting for him here, but he's sitting by himself in the San Diego airport. He's having an adventure, but it's a really stupid adventure, I would say.
It is.
Mhm.
But I think it speaks to what he's looking for in this, whole idealized affair that he has in his mind. That part of it isn't just sex with a beautiful woman. Part of it is also adventure.
Right.
I think absolutely that's true because, even when we get to the end of the movie and we all know that he's up on the ledge from the very beginning shot, he fumbles every single bit when he finally gets to that bedroom. And I think that's, he has this great grand idea of what an affair could be, but when it comes to actually doing it or having it or any of those kinds of things, he's just all thumbs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, this is where we get the Academy Award winning best song. I Just Called to Say I Love You.
Such a
I
good
did
song.
not know that was from this movie until I started doing my research. What an interesting
I had
point
no
of origin
idea.
for a classic little jam.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he does get back, he finds out that Joey has reconciled with Teresa. The bad news
For
is,
some reason.
I mean, I guess that's bad news too. But the other bad news is that it looks like Buddy has caught affair fever, and he's had an affair with a dude named Eric that he met at some sort of party they were having when they got back together. This is also how we and the boys find out that Buddy is gay. Specifically, the boys find out when Buddy's partner rolls up at lunch and tosses Eric's bracelet at him and says, "You poor bitch."
Mhm.
And
It's great, honestly.
It's such a
an
good
unexpectedly poignant scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And here's the deal. Number one, I want Charles Grodin to have a more attractive boyfriend because that man looks like he skis in the darkest dead of winter all the time. Like he never gets out of there except to maybe drive his Porsche or Jaguar. I'm not sure.
He was at least tall.
It was an Aston Martin.
Oh, it was an Aston Martin. Okay,
Ooh.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. But he just seems so dead face. And maybe he's upset because he just found out his boyfriend was having an affair.
Mhm.
Regardless, I wanted Charles Grodin to have a more attractive boyfriend. And thing number two,
Well, if he had a more attractive boyfriend, also he wouldn't be cheating.
well, questionable because I think Dee Dee is effing hot. And what's Gene Wilder doing? Anyway, I also love that this is a moment in 1984 when 4 dudes are hanging out at a tennis club and there's no like confrontation about Buddy being gay. Like Joey kind of gives an eye roll, kind of like we all knew this, but we didn't ever talk about it, so it wasn't a thing, and now it's being shoved in their faces, and nobody makes it a big deal. I love that. I loved it.
I especially enjoyed the next scene.
Yeah.
Teddy and Buddy have a surprisingly tender scene. Yeah. Where they make it clear that Buddy's sexuality is no problem for Teddy. You know, and in 1984, obviously that's very different than 2024, where if you had a movie where 4 guys and one of them found out the 4th guy was gay, they'd be like, oh, okay,
cool.
You're going to finish your sandwich. You know?
I did read that's taken directly from the French movie, which came out in 1972.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the gay character in that is known as like one of the first quote unquote positive gay characters in French cinema.
That's wonderful.
That's really impressive. That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know, the actor who played him was like proud of doing it, or
like I thought about that scene even like last night and this morning. Like it's very touching, very poignant. Like it was really, really beautiful.
I want more people to see that scene. And can we just make the phrase shocking pink like the line for coming out now? Like just like people ask you,
I don't
like,
think I can make that declaration.
You know, I loved it. I loved it so much. Ugh.
Yeah, and I love that he broke the ice by telling him a little dad joke that was about how you can't even remember things. You know, how things aren't a big deal. Like, that's the subtext of the joke, and they hug, and it's just a very sweet scene. Buddy is, in fact, so touched by this visit from Gene that he agrees to help him with his affair.
It's very nice of him to do that.
None of these men ever learn anything.
No.
I'll make you be a poor bitch too.
Bunny is going to play chauffeur on the date. Teddy and Charlotte are going to try another date tonight. We're going to see how it pans out. Teddy just needs to swing by his grandma's place real quick to wish her a happy birthday.
Such a weird little thing to be doing on a date, especially when it's just like, are you sure you want to do this? And he's just like, yeah, it'll be fine. It's like, don't go. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're not worried about Dee Dee? Who's Dee Dee?
Don't even worry about it. Yeah. So they swing by Mama Dell. And unfortunately, it looks like Teddy's birthday is tomorrow. And so his entire family is at Mama Dell's place for a surprise party. Wah, wah. Luckily, Buddy, Johnny on the spot, #1 bro award to Buddy, says, that's my date, Charlotte. We better go, sweetie, so we can have heterosexual sex. Peace.
Yeah, the kiss on the cheek that he gives her there is just so awkward for those who are in the know. So great. Oh, it's so great. And then Charlotte even like gives him a little like slow clap when they make it to the elevator.
Yeah.
Great performance.
Yeah. And truly a display of nominative determinism for Buddy, a true Buddy in that scene. So that keeps him from out of trouble with Dee Dee and the family at the surprise party. The rest of the boys then show up outside and hatch another scheme to get Teddy away from Dee Dee. This scheme involves Joey publicly threatening to murder his wife for leaving him again. This scene was also very frightening and bizarre.
Oh, yeah. No, this one really threw me off. I was like, what is happening now, actually?
And, like, how are they going to cover for this with Dee Dee tomorrow when she's like, oh, no. Me and Teresa are actually, everything's still fine. I was just, you know.
And you can see her like looking suspicious too. So I really thought that this was going to more directly lead to him being on a ledge.
Oh, I didn't get suspicion from him. You got suspicion?
Oh, really? That's how I read it.
I got more fear and confusion, but maybe I was projecting.
It's possible. I also have a feeling like I read this movie very differently. Like this is a bit of an eye-opening conversation for me in some ways, which I'll talk a little bit about here when we get done. Yeah, it's been an interesting experience with this one.
So they drop him off at Charlotte's photo shoot, which he apparently had scheduled to start immediately after their dinner last night because it was supposed to go through all the... After the photo shoot, they go back to her place, where Charlotte reveals that now that she knows Teddy is married, she's more attracted to him than ever.
So there you go.
Can I just say, I wrote down her line. Mm-hmm. She says, "Since tonight, I want you more than any other man." And I was like, what? Time out, what?
Yeah.
Time out, I'm sorry. Since tonight, seeing you embraced by your grandma, getting caught in the middle of almost having an affair, I want you more now than ever. Okay. All right. Check. Mm-hmm. Just making sure.
Here's my read on that. It's that he was willing to risk all these wonderful things just to have sex with her. She found that to be incredibly erotic.
Okay.
Yeah, she did.
That's my vibe. Because and I'm not saying it's the worst read, because they immediately strip down to their skivvies to the tune of the best song ever written by Larry Gittins, which will be our closing theme this week.
What was the name of it again?
Let's Just. It's not on the soundtrack album. They left it off. It's only a minute long. I think because it wasn't by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah,
Stevie produced it, but he's not like on the recording.
Also, the cinematography in this little moment, it's like Gene Wilder has done the most terrible cuts throughout this entire film. And then this moment when they're stripping, it's that circular camera that goes from like him to her to him to her. And they're like spinning, and she's taking off like a sweater and a cami, and her hair and makeup is still totally perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know how she did that. It's amazing.
She's a pro.
Yes. And then more satin panties.
Yes.
Of course.
They get into her waterbed. And then they're like, they take off their underpants. He throws his underpants off. They land on a lamp. She says, "No, can you take them off the lamp? I don't want."
I'm so glad that she did that. By the way, I was just like, God, this is what's going to happen now. It's going to be a fire, and then it's like, no. She directly addresses it. It's like, no, take those off. We don't want to start a fire. It's like, okay, no, that's smart.
Now that's an important message for the viewers at home. This movie is infotainment. That's what I like to call it. Mm-hmm. And even here, Shelly, with this choice, you're an educator. Now, so he goes and he gets them, and he gets back into bed, and they're about to get going when the intercom buzzes. And who's there but Charlotte's husband? What a twist!
So wonderful. So wonderful.
Move over, M. Night.
It made so much sense to me.
Yes.
Charlotte shoves Teddy out onto her apartment's window ledge while he's wearing the bathrobe. And now we are back at the beginning of the movie.
Boom.
We've done it. At this point, he's been out there for a little while, though. He's not getting let back into the apartment as soon as he had hoped. And a crowd notices him and assumes that he's a jumper. Soon, firefighters, news crews, police, reporters, they all show up. He tries to get back in the apartment, but unfortunately, Charlotte is busy shtupping her husband. She at least finally got this thing figured out. He laughs to himself and thinks, boy, this just isn't worth it. Dee Dee sees him on TV and laughs at how goofy he looks smoking a cigarette in another man's bathrobe. Time out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal.
She's very upset.
No. Here's the deal. As a child, I remember her watching that and thinking she was laughing at her husband, like, oh, he's such a goofball. There he is again, my little teddy bear up on a ledge. But then I noticed she's like crying into her hands, like inconsolable.
Yeah.
It struck me so differently.
She's very upset.
Yeah.
I think at first it's like kind of hard to read because it's one of those moments where you're like, you don't know what's happening, so you're kind of laughing, and then it just becomes just true sadness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, too bad for Dee Dee.
No.
But Teddy's doing okay. He figures it's time to get off of this ledge. So he jumps down towards one of those firefighter trampoline things. We get I never thought anybody would take the title for worst green screen from She-Devil. But
they did it.
Bad. It's so bad.
Very bad.
This is rough. This does not play.
At all.
I mean, considering that Ghostbusters came out the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was still in theaters when this came out.
Wow.
So like the technology was there to make this fall not so miserable, but the fact that he's like leaning back, smoking a cigarette, flips upside down, very Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory style, like that's just ridiculous.
But on his way down, we realize maybe Teddy hasn't changed his ways because he sees an attractive photographer taking his picture and he thinks, boy, she's kind of cute. Then we get a freeze frame, end of the movie.
Over.
They did it. So that is Woman in Red. Let's give some star ratings. Let's give some final thoughts. Who wants to start off?
I can start. This was a weird movie.
Sure was.
And I think right after we watched it, I said that I think really a lot of it probably comes from it being an adaptation of a French farce, because there's just a mean-spirited streak in the movie.
Yeah.
That I just was very unpleasant to me. I kept I didn't understand, I didn't know why I would side with Gene Wilder, except that he's Gene Wilder. Yeah. You know, he wasn't a particularly nice guy or particularly good at anything, or but there were. We've been laughing talking about it. There were some good bits, for sure. Some funny parts. Gilda Radner was great. I don't know. I'm going to give it 3 stars.
Tough but fair. How about you, Greg?
Yeah, so for me, as I said, I had quite an experience watching this. Watching it, I was just like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be happy for any of these people or excited or what I want to see any of them cheat. Do I want him to cheat on his wife? Do I want to see these boys be? It was very confusing to me. A lot of the time in my notebook, I was just writing, why is this happening? Because a lot of it to me didn't feel grounded. I mean, it's obviously not grounded. But then thinking about it afterward and having kind of an experience, I remembered what you had said, Chris, last week about Troll 2. I knew that it was a remake of some kind of foreign film. I thought. I didn't do too much research. I didn't have a ton of time. But that felt right. Of late, I've seen a couple. I've been dabbling lightly into this world of European sex comedy and comedy of errors kind of stuff, and I was like, this feels like this fits in that world more, and since it's in English and is done by someone who is from the same culture that I'm from, I'm reading it in a way that I think makes more sense to me than those do, but are helping me explain why those in many ways make more sense than this one does. Because I think that, as you said with Troll 2, it's just more part of the lexicon, and so it feels sort of natural and organic, whereas here it felt sort of forced and weird. I think that as a bad movie, it is hard for me to recommend to a wide audience. This feels more like a historian's kind of bad movie than a enthusiast's kind of bad movie. But I do think that there's some value in seeing it if you can not be upset by some of the content, if that makes sense. So, like
Yeah,
when
right.
I was trying to figure this out for star rating, I was like, is it like a 1.5? So I think I'm going to go 2.5 at this point. Is what I think I'm going to say.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'll go. We'll save our guest for last.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give this bad boy 2.5. I think I'm with Greg on 2.5. I think what was good about it was really good. Except for when it was just okay and coasting on its charms. And what was bad about it was so like off-putting and strange. I think Joey was especially like the sort of violence in his storyline just tonally would pull me out every time. And I think honestly, if you want a movie that captures sort of being a essentially good and faithful husband who is tempted and is in danger of giving into temptation, that sort of comedy, I strongly recommend Alan Arkin in Last of the Red Hot Lovers. I think that's a better take from this material. And so I kept on comparing it to that, and I think it paled in comparison. But I think, Gene Wilder is charming as always. I think that Gilda Radner is hilarious anytime she's on camera. And I think Kelly LeBrock looks amazing anytime she's on camera. But everything else is just like, oh, and Buddy. Buddy was great. I love Buddy. But they're all just feel like lipstick on a pig. It feels like the center of the movie is the pig. What about you, Shelly? How are you feeling about it? Give us your 5-star rating.
Okay, I'm going to give it a solid 3.5. And I think that half star for me is the nostalgia. Like it is definitely like grandma's basement, like just cackle laughter. And I absolutely 100% hear what you're saying now, thinking back with the moments of violence, especially from Joey. But I also I love Dee Dee's character in this film. I think she's one hot mom who maybe just needs to figure out, like, when her husband throws a tantrum, she needs to say, like, what are you hiding from me? Yeah. What are you hiding? I wrote down in my notes, like, methinks the lady doth protest too much. Like, it's so blatant, and like, I just want her to like put her glasses on. I loved the queer acceptance in this film that is so like just understood, and knowing now that it was like actually from the 1972 film that was still in there, I love that even more. So I love that acceptance. And I didn't come out until my 20s, but like surely I knew somewhere in the back of my mind at age 8 when I saw this movie, which was far too young to see this movie, I think. But when I saw this movie, I knew something was different about, the Eric bracelet and then the "you poor bitch" bracelet or comment. But like, and the shocking pink, I have always said shocking pink, but I don't think I knew where it came from until rewatching this film. So yeah, I also like this Mikey character that we didn't even talk about. Yeah. He's just so pathetic in like a lovable, terrible way. I don't know. I'm going to give this movie a solid 3.5. Certainly problematic. Yeah, lots of problems.
Speaking of, we forgot one thing that we wanted to double back to, which was Shelly feeling up Dee Dee.
Yeah, I'm glad we're going to cover this.
This is so problematic. Okay, so, and also, all right, so I remembered, I said this already, but I remembered the first time watching it, Dee Dee laughing when she saw Teddy on the ledge, right, on the news. Yeah. And then I saw it again and I realized, no, she's crying. I read the Wikipedia plot or the plot synopsis for this, and it's that, and it says on Wikipedia, and I think this is erroneous, Wikipedia editors go back and fix it. It says that Dee Dee is crying because her affair could get her in just as much trouble. What? And I was like, what? Dee Dee's what affair? So Mallory and I went back and rewatched it, and I was like, Dee Dee's affair with Shelly? Like, that's what? Yeah. Because you know how we were talking about that. You know, we were talking about that moment at the beginning where we first meet Shelly and Gene Wilder is saying, you're Jewish, right? And he says, yeah, my parents are. And then they have the mirrored back and forth conversation. Mm-hmm. And Gene Wilder says to Shelly's character, he says, you take care of my girl. And then Shelly says back, you take care of my girl. And that was the only thing that I could think that, like, minus the feeling up situation. Is Dee Dee having an affair with Shelly?
So no. I will say that during the grabbing scene, there was something said that just made me go, wait a minute, is that saying that they are in a relationship together? And then something was said after that made me think probably not.
But yeah, she says, I'm going to tell your mom. And and Shelly says back, she already knows.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I think those two characters might be having an affair.
Really?
I think it's possible. I think you know what we have to do is we have to watch Pardon Mon Affaire.
Okay.
And we need to go back to the source material to figure that out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good call.
Well, I think that just means it's time for us to move on to our segment. Anna's got the segment this week, and it's about the score.
Ooh.
Let's talk about the score. This movie's got a great score. Time to talk about the score. This movie's got a great score.
Take it away, my heart.
So the soundtrack album by Stevie Wonder was like light years more successful than the movie. Mm. The soundtrack album itself peaked at number 4 on the US Billboard 200. It knocked the Purple Rain soundtrack out of the number 1 spot on the R&B charts, which wow. It had held for 5 months at that point. Like it
Holy
was
crap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, if you're gonna get beat by Stevie Wonder, that's not too bad.
That's lesser single here, but really fabulous one, interesting one. There's a song called "Don't Drive Drunk" that was used in a PSA the next year by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Good for
What was
them.
it about?
Not driving drunk.
Oh, okay.
But obviously the lead single was "I Just Called to Say I Love You," which is still Stevie Wonder's best-selling single to date. It hit number 1 on Billboard Hot 100, the R&B and adult contemporary charts for 3 weeks. It's his only number 1 hit in the UK. It was number 1 for 6 weeks. Motown's biggest selling single ever in the UK. The second best-selling single of 1984 in the UK after Do They Know It's Christmas? And apparently, according to the Wikipedia, the third best-selling UK single of the whole 80s, which is like, it's a lot. They loved it in the UK. It was also a number 1 in alphabetical order, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Greece, Ireland, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Portugal, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Uruguay, West Germany, and Zimbabwe.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, a very successful song. And it also won both a Golden Globe and an Oscar. It was nominated for 3 Grammys, but didn't win any.
I believe this is our first Oscar-winning film.
Yes!
Yeah, I was going to say, I love that this one is considered an Oscar winner.
Yes, this is an Oscar-winning film.
I think it's because that song, that sentiment of that song is so universal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's not saccharine sweet. It's like beautifully sweet.
It's just a little
really genuinely sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I watched the clip from the Oscar ceremony, and the categories announced by Gregory Hines, who was wearing a really interesting, like, sparkly silver chandelier earring in his left ear, which I hadn't seen on Mr. Hines before. The other nominated songs were Take a Look at Me Now, Footloose, Let's Hear It for the Boy, also from Footloose, and, of course, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
These are rock'em sock'em songs. Like, these are power songs. Like,
wild.
Yeah, like that they're 4 songs that I can immediately hum like 40 years on. Like that's not always the case with the original song category. And Wonder, you know, he's wearing a blazer with an amazing rainbow sequin collar. He said that he'd been having dreams on his European tour that he was at an awards show, and, you know, just as they were announcing the winner is, he'd wake up, and he kept it. So this was his dream, that he couldn't believe it was happening. And then he dedicated his award to Nelson Mandela, which got him banned from South African radio by the government.
How about that?
Yeah, pretty rad. Pretty rad.
Yeah.
I will say, my main feeling from the score, like, obviously this is a classic song, but I feel like a lot of the song felt like songs that Stevie Wonder would sing to his cat. They all felt like a little bit half-formed, a little bit loose, you know, not necessarily in a bad way, but not his most challenging work.
And I wasn't able to find anything on, like, how they hooked up or, you know, why Stevie Wonder did this.
Listeners, if you know, right?
And it's definitely, has lasted a lot longer than the movie.
Oh, for sure. Well,
I want to point out that I feel like, okay, so Stevie Wonder did this with Dionne Warwick. And I just think it's like 2 iconic Black singers doing the soundtrack for the most milky white cast of the ages. And yes, I do want to know. I absolutely want to know how Gene Wilder got that win. Like,
right.
What's the process? I mean, did it have to do something with, like, was it an Orion movie, or was it, who was the movie?
It's an Orion movie, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, did Stevie Wonder owe someone at Orion or what? Because, God, like, Dionne Warwick, like, when the movie opens and it's Dionne Warwick, I had started the movie and Mallory, like, came running in from the kitchen and was like, Dionne Warwick? And I was like, yeah, that's her. So.
Yeah.
Big. Huge.
Well, you guys,
gigantic.
Are you, now that I've once again completely slammed the momentum of the show to a dead stop, do you guys want to move on to our game?
Oh my God.
Yes.
It's a brand new game.
Ooh.
That's right. A brand new game, and it's about remakes. They're getting remade. I saw this film, it was pretty good. What if you and me remade it, dude? This film was pretty great, but we can make it better. This film is alright, it got good grades. The film is so great, it's getting remade. It's getting remade. That's right. This film is getting remade. Woman in Red is a remake of the French film Pardon Amour. So for this game, I'm going to give each of you a French film title, and the year it came out, a description of the plot, and I want you to tell me the title of the American remake. Everybody got it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is
All
going to
right.
be
We
interesting.
will start with my wife.
Okay.
Question number 1. L'amour l'après-midi, 1972. Though he has an adoring wife, a bourgeois man is still tempted to pursue other women. Pretty much the classic French movie plot. L'amour l'après-midi.
Afternoon Delight.
So close.
That was, of course, I Think I Love My Wife by Tyler Perry, 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Tyler Perry.
Oh my God!
Right off the top of my head.
Wow.
All right, Greg, you're up next.
Okay.
Question number 2. La Grande Blonde avec un chaussure noire, 1972. A hapless violinist becomes an unwitting pawn of rival factions within the French Secret Service after he's chosen as a decoy by being identified as a super-secret agent. La Grande Blonde avec une chaussure noire, 1972.
The Man with One Red Shoe?
Correct! The Man with One Red Shoe, 1985. Wow. 1 point for Greg. You're on the board. Shelly, are you ready?
I'm such trash at trivia. This is my wife's area of expertise.
Genuinely, that was just I was like, I remember there's this weird Tom Hanks movie where I think he's a spy because he's wearing one red shoe. I remember it because it had a ridiculous name.
Yeah.
And that was that.
All right, Shelly, good luck. No pressure. Remember, there's no prize for winning. There's only booby prize if you take it too seriously. Question number 3. La Salaire de la Peur, 1953.
Oh, so great.
4 men drive 2 trucks loaded with nitroglycerin over treacherous mountain roads.
Is this
La Salaire de la Peur, 1953.
So I'm clearly going to go with The Italian Job.
No, that was actually a remake of The Italian Job.
But there are trucks and there are mountains.
You're very close. This was Sorcerer.
No.
You might know that film under its English translation title, The Wages of Fear. But no, this is a Roy Scheider movie. It's supposed to be very intense.
Okay. A friend of mine always recommends that, and I'm like, what's it called? And he's like, Sorcerer. I'm like, I'm never going to remember that. It seems so divorced from what's actually occurring.
It's true.
I think it's the name of the truck.
Sure.
I think it's the name of the truck. But yeah, I hear that it's there's a really good bridge scene, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. But all right, Anna, your turn. Let's see if you can catch up to Greg. La Jetée, 1962.
Oh.
Man trapped in a stable time loop explores his memories in the wake of World War III.
That's 12 Monkeys.
Correct.
Yeah.
12 Monkeys.
A
Question number
great
5.
Movie.
Sure.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's
I only
great.
have really terrible memories of that movie. Oh, just we can talk about it later.
All right, we'll move on to Greg's question. Baudu Sauve des Eaux, 1932. A bookseller saves a tramp from drowning and shelters him, but the tramp's behavior starts to wear everybody down.
Oh, I feel like
Baudu Suave des Eaux.
I feel like I should know the name of this, but I'm just going to say The Stranger.
That is Down and Out in Beverly Hills, 1986.
Oh, God.
Okay.
The original Baudu Saved from Drowning.
That's right. That makes not a lot of sense.
Okay. Shelly, I've got a tough one for you. I'm sorry that the dice rolled this way.
I'm so excited.
La Chèvre from 1981. This movie stars Gerard Depardieu, if that helps, but he's not in the remake, if that also helps. A daughter of a millionaire, distinguished by her incredible bad luck, goes missing. To find her, they send out an equally unlucky person. La Chèvre.
Yeah. So the cheese. The goat cheese?
It could be the goat cheese.
I think it's the goat cheese. It's that very famous film.
This was Pure Luck from 1991, starring Martin Short and Glover.
I have actually seen this movie. Yes, he has the worst luck. Oh, yeah, I do know this movie.
Yeah, I thought you would have seen it, but I did not think that you would ever guess it.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
It's okay. Anna, it's tied up, you and Greg. You've got La Totale, 1991. A secret agent uses his professional skills to track his family with unexpected results. La Totale.
Taken?
It was True Lies.
True Lies! Oh my god, I knew it!
Oh.
Yes!
That was True Lies.
Haven't seen it.
Can I get a point with an asterisk on it?
I will grant you a half point for this deal.
Okay, thank you. Yes!
Question number 8. Yes, final round, we'll have steals. Greg, this is your chance to take it all. You can run away with it with this one.
Okay.
La Jouet, 1976. A rich child purchases a down-on-his-luck journalist as his own personal toy.
Oh.
La Jouet.
I've got the steal.
I feel like I can see the poster. I want to say it's like a Richard Pryor, John Candy film. The Price of Friendship. I have no idea. What do we got?
It's the toy.
Oh.
Shelly is correct.
Yes!
With that steal, it's all tied up.
Yes!
Ooh.
And that was not John Candy Reg, that was Jackie Gleason.
Thank you.
Question number 9, Shelly, this is your chance to take it. A real comeback from behind. And you could get this one. I believe in you. La Femme Nikita, 1990. A beautiful young criminal is trained to be an assassin, but finds out that this is not the kind of job you can just walk away from. La Femme Nikita.
Isn't it just La Femme Nikita?
Okay.
Or The Long Kiss Goodnight?
Is that your final answer?
I know it's wrong, but sure.
It is wrong. Does anybody have the steal?
Is it La Femme Nikita?
No, that was a TV show.
Okay.
Anna?
Oh. No, I don't know.
Point of No Return, starring Bridget Fonda and Gabriel Byrne.
Oh,
HBO
that's right.
90s classic. Bridget Fonda, so hot in that movie.
God, Gabriel Byrne, every day, all day, please.
Sure.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Check out Point of No Return, listeners. And check it out. We've made it to the final segment of the show. It's the Baddie Awards.
Yes.
Now you're messing with the Baddie Award. Now you're messing with the Baddie Award. Now you're messing with the Baddie Award. Now you're messing with the Baddie Awards. Congratulations to all the nominees.
That's right. Congratulations to all our nominees. It's the Baddie Awards.
Hooray!
I will kick us off with our initial baddie award, and we will continue the tradition that we started with our last recording and say, you get to pick who delivers the next baddie award. And I'm going to give my baddie award for the best coat. It came up a little bit earlier, Miss Milner's raspberry trench coat / peacoat that she wears when she keys Teddy's car. She is looking fierce in that raspberry trench coat.
Yeah.
And I realize I'm giving a lot of baddie awards to women's costumery, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's normal. And I'm going to choose to give out the next baddie award, my very normal friend, Greg.
Okay. So my baddie award is going to be given to my favorite bit in the film, which is the sort of the scene between Shelly and Gene Wilder's character, whose name I'm forgetting.
Teddy.
Like Teddy, yeah. So like the way it is shot, the fact that he is for some reason just repeating him and then doesn't for the one question, but it's this like deadpan smart aleck thing, and then it's again repeating him, and then there's that really weird comment like where he does repeat him, he's like, you take care of my girl. Like the whole thing, I feel like I could write a long essay about that as to why I like it. Like it's just like reactions upon reactions, the way the shot is done. It's just like everything about it surprised me in such a delightful and interesting way. And it just made me laugh a lot. And I just really enjoyed that part. And so I felt the need to really highlight that one.
All right.
I would like to know what your award is, Shelly.
My award is going to be really similar to Chris's. I'm going to go with Gilda Radner's entire wardrobe.
Okay.
Not only because I'm just jealous of it, but because it's so wonderful. Like the difference between her day wear, which while it is like buttoned up, is super prim and like precise and like lots of pussy bows and lots of shirt front dresses, but also a little bit dowdy. But then her going out outfits. I mean, God, the one where she gets stood up the first time is this great black illusion, like Swiss dot neckline that's a little bit plunging, and then a sequined beret off to the side, and she's smoking a cigarette. I think on an like, you know, one of those fancy long cigarettes.
There's a lot of weird smoking in this movie.
Yeah, and then the jumpsuit. I know we had the conversation about that jumpsuit, and that fur stole and that side ponytail, which steals the whole show. And then after she starts having the affair or not affair, I don't know, she's a miss and she's having an affair with Gene Wilder's assistant, Richard. She starts wearing these very attractive tops, like flowy blouses and these red glasses in the building. I don't know. Her whole wardrobe is stunning. 10s across the board. I love it. I wanted all of it.
And I love that her wardrobe communicated so much about what her character was experiencing in any given scene. She was dressed specifically for whatever occasion it was.
And it's so perfect. I mean, yes. I also want to be a member of, if that character had, if she was a dom somewhere in San Francisco in the 1980s, I would like to, I would like to submissively present my application.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, it's not my baddie award, but I will mention, since you both mentioned costumes, we've talked about costumes a lot, that the costumes are done by a woman named Ruth Myers, who had not done a lot at this point. She'd done, I think, at least one of Gene Wilder's previous movies, but she has since. She has been twice nominated for Oscars for the 96 Emma and Addams Family.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's doing great work here. I'm glad she did.
She also knows her way around a pair of silk panties. So
yeah, she's definitely picked the right panties when she was picking out costumes.
Yep.
Well, I will give my award to because we've mentioned Dee Dee a lot. And I think that it's sort of a thankless role. But the actress, Judith Ivey, is so good.
Yes.
She's so good in the role. She's funny in a very kind of understated way, where Gene Wilder is, being more nutty, but she's funny and she's cute. She had 2 Tonys, like either previous or contemporary to this. I think mostly a stage actor, but the other movie that I know her from is she played Keanu's mom in The Devil's Advocate.
Yes, she did.
And she was very good in that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, do you know that this was her 3rd film in 1984?
Wow.
Wow, she was keeping busy.
She was busy, and and then 6 Degrees of Separation from Gabriel Byrne. She was in, God, what was the name of that movie? Hello Again with Shelley Long. So Shelley Long dies choking on a chicken bone. Her sister, played by Judith Ivey, is a necromancer. Zelda, a zany necromancer. She brings her back to life a year later, and Gabriel Byrne falls in love with her.
Okay. Wow, that sounds intense.
It's so good.
So good.
Speaking of intense, we've made it to the very end of a very long episode. Congratulations to you listeners, you've done it.
Hooray!
Yay! And hooray to you, Shelly. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for picking such an interesting movie. It was so much fun.
I loved every second of it. I could talk for another hour and 43 minutes.
Well, we will all turn into pumpkins if we stick around that long. I have a sneaking suspicion. Shelly, do you have anything that you're doing right now that you want to plug?
I'm just ending up my summer and devoting the rest of my time to rugby sevens on the Olympics right now. And getting ready for school to start. So there's that.
All right. I'm going to plug on Shelly's behalf your local school teachers. Do what you can to help them out, folks.
Yeah.
Do it for Shelly. And if you want to do something for us that, hey, is probably a lot easier when you really get right down to it, why don't you leave us a quick 5 stars, brother? You got your phone in your hand. You're about to stop listening to the show. Just pop that 5 stars on there. It'll take you 2 seconds. Or you could even subscribe or like or follow or leave a comment, whatever way your platform has that you can interact with us. That'll help us beat the algorithms, take back our future from the machines. Another great thing that you can do, taking away from the machines, why don't you go interact with another human being and tell them, listen to your favorite bad movie podcast. Tell your friend, tell your coworker. Why don't you tell the stranger that you meet? Or if you want to do something that's less intense, you can always email us at favoritebadmoviepod@gmail.com, where you can send us your suggestions, or if you want to pitch us for coming on the show, or just say, hey, maybe we'll get a mailbag segment going. We're always looking for segments, let me tell you, brother. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us there at Your Favorite Bad Movie Pod. You can also find us on Blue Sky at favoritebadmovie.bsky.social. You can find all this stuff in the link tree, which is going to be in the show description. There you can also find a link to our YouTube, where you can find little trailers that I've been making for the show. They're fun. Check them out. That'll help you get hyped up. They'll give you a good visual sense of what the movie looks like. You can also find a link in there to our Discord. You can come and hang out on Discord.
Yay!
Yay!
And
it's a perfectly fine place.
It's totally normal there. The good news is everything there is normal. And there's been no drama yet. Do you want to come and start injecting drama? You can.
I'm joining right now.
Yes. Start a fight with someone. No, actually, don't do that. Everybody come on and be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. And anyway, don't forget to tune in next week when we're going to have, for our special guest, my brother, Johan Anderson. And we're going to be talking about Albert Pyun's Mean Guns, a true classic. So you don't want to miss it. We'll see you then. And until next time, be good.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.